In the hospital, the nurses are talking about Jinwoo. They're talking about how hot his body looks. We can see that all the daily training has resulted in his body becoming pretty ripped. One of the nurses enters his room and is caught off guard by Jinwoo when she sees his half-naked, sweat-drenched body. He apologizes and puts on a shirt. The nurse asks how he is feeling, as he will be discharged today. She also tells him to come by reception when he is ready so that they can sort out the paperwork. She calls out to Jinwoo and asks for his number. Jinwoo doesn't think anything of it other than she may want his number to give him his test results. It's a news report, and we see Beck. He is one of the S-rank hunters in the country. He is asked what it is like when hunters aren't in the dungeons. He explains that it is mostly a lot of training as you don't want to lose the feel of real combat. He also says he is used to training from his firefighter days. He keeps up with training as the slightest mistake could result in his comrades being injured. Yuna turns on the TV and is getting ready to head to school. She calls out to Jinwoo to let him know that she was leaving. Jinwoo has just woken up, and when he was rubbing his stomach, it's on display just a little bit, and Gina notices that her brother's appearance has changed as she asks if he has been working out and that he also seems a bit taller. Before she leaves, Jinwoo puts an umbrella in her bag. He has a quick look at his progress on his daily quest as well as checks his status. He's now at level 18 and he still has 12 points to distribute across his abilities. He decides to split the points between strength and agility. He receives a call from the landlord who tells him that he is a month late on the rent. He explains that he was in the hospital but will have the money for him right away. He starts looking at the job board for a hunter job that he could do that day. He doesn't have a lot of options as most squads won't want an E-ranker on their squad. He does, however, find a job. He runs to the site as it lets him finish up the daily quest. When he was about to claim the rewards, the squad he was going to be working with arrives. One of the guys on the squad knows who Jinwoo is and mentions how he is called the weakest hunter of all mankind. He asks if it will be a problem that he is an E-ranker, but the leader says it's not a problem as they only need him to meet a quota. He won't be participating in a battle and he won't be getting any of the spoils, but he would be paid 2 million won for being there. They ask him to help carry the bags with the tools, food and first aid kit. Something about the squad seems off to Jinwoo, but he decides to go ahead with the raid and does sign a contract. The last member has arrived and he introduces himself as Yoo Jinho. He is a 21-year-old D-ranker. Some of the squad are talking about Jinho's gear and speculate that he may be rich. Everyone gathers their gear and heads into the dungeon. They stand at the entrance to the gate and one of the guys asks if it really is a C-rank dungeon because of the size of the gate. Jinwoo explains to Jinho that the size of the gate does not matter. It's the level of magic power that comes from within is its real indicator. B-rank or higher gates are given to the larger guilds. They head into the dungeon and it's dark. One of the guys uses their abilities to cast a light in a dungeon. Normally, dungeons are already lit up with glowstones. Jinwoo lists off the different stones that can be found in the dungeons. They have walked farther into the dungeon but have not come across a single magic beast. Jinwoo tries to think what kind of magic beast it could be. He suddenly realizes that they are an insect-type magic beast. After using his perception, he realizes that they will be attacked from above and calls out a warning. The squad jumps right into fighting the ants, with Jinho standing back with Jinwoo to make sure that he doesn't get hurt. One of the ants tries to attack Jinwoo, but he kicks and kills it without anyone realizing. The leader of the squad asks how Jinwoo knew the beast would attack from above, and he tells him he knew from instinct. One of the guys calls out to the leader. He is looking at the ant which has a chunk of its body bitten off. A look around the room shows that some of the other ants are in the same state. Seeing the main squad grouped together and talking, Jinwoo talks about Jinho's gear. He asks if the sword and shield cost a lot of money. Jinho tells him yes, and that it was a gift from his father for his first raid. Jinwoo tells him that they should be careful. At a guild, we see a group of the hunters working out. There's a little earthquake which panics one of the members of the group, but he is told to calm down as it happens all the time around there. Turns out it is the guild master doing his training. He is punching a chunk of rock barehanded. Back in the dungeon, Jinwoo and Co are still following one of the paths. They take a break to eat some food before starting on their journey again. Jinho asks Jinwoo if he is okay carrying all of the gear. Jinwoo seems to be okay and says it's barely anything. Something about the squad keeps bugging Jinwoo, such as them being battle-tested party with no healer and that they needed additional members. They mention how they have not come across a single beast that wasn't already injured or dead. The squad leader asks one of the group to give them some light on the path ahead. When he does, they can see the path is full of spider webs. They press on up the path and come across a cave full of mana crystals. The leader looks on at the mana crystals and declares he will use the hall to grow his strike team. Jinho asks to see Jinwoo's contract after he overhears them talking about splitting the mana crystals 7 ways instead of 8. After reading it, he asks why it's only being split 7 ways when it only says that he doesn't get a share of the battle drops. The leader says they need to deal with the boss first before they think of how the mana crystals will be divided. He says they will need to mine and haul the crystals out before defeating the boss, which currently seems to be asleep. The leader asks one of the squad members if they have the gear. They tell them they left the transport gear behind. The leader says that they will have to go and get it and asks Jinwoo and Jinho to stay behind as he needs to talk to his squad while they get the equipment. When Jinho questions being left behind, the leader asks him to trust him. According to Jinwoo, regulations say that 8 members are required in order to tackle a C-rank dungeon. He thinks back to when he was told by the leader that they do all their raids without a healer. The squad, which is made up of 6 members, once the squad is far enough away, he tells one of the members to seal off the boss chamber, which he does. Jinwoo remembers Mr. Sung telling him that there are crooks in the hunter's line of work. As it is dangerous work, there are accidents that happen often. As the accidents are isolated, it makes it easier to commit a crime that never comes to light. The weak are often used as bait or abandoned, like a lizard leaving its tail behind. Jinho blames their current predicament on him asking about the contract. Jinwoo thinks that this wasn't the case and that they were ready to kill them as soon as they had the chance. The explosion woke up the spider, which makes its way towards them. Jinwoo tells Jinho not to move as he wants to take on the spider alone. Jinwoo calls up his dagger as he walks towards the spider. That's it for today's recap on Solo Leveling. And please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Please stay tuned for the next recap.